GM, now it works? Awesome. I was scared. I was like, no one talks to me anymore. I was almost crying here alone. GM, I think you guys need to drop and come back. I hear Chris. Chris, you back?
Test, test, test.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We hear Chris. Gareth.
Yeah. I thought
Okay.
you were going to grab something, Jose. I didn't know you were trying to
No
talk the
way.
whole time.
I was like, Chris, Gareth, if you guys can hear me, please let me know if you guys are muted. Anything going wrong? I should have typed in the chat first. All right, all right. Our monthly econ forum. Let's start by introducing the legends, the myths, the masters of Galia economy, our head of department, the legend, the myth himself, Chris Adam Smith. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Doing well. You used my full old name. Technically, after I got married, we decided to hyphenate, but hyphenation is brutal. So I do like the way that Adam Smith rolls off the tongue. But I'm doing well. It's Thursday. It's we're over the hump, and it's been a really good week. Been digging into a bunch of different data. Um, if I just got doxxed just now, then that will be news to me, Brian. Uh, anyway, yeah, it's been a great week for data and the different projects. A lot of really cool stuff, especially with Holosim, that I'm excited to talk about today. But yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome, man. We missed you. You were not here in the last econ forum.
I was on a little vacation that honestly was really nice. Went to Croatia, Slovenia with my brothers and their significant others, and or spouses, I should say. And yeah, it was a fun kind of family trip. We really enjoyed our time there. I got plenty of sun and plenty of water. My wife claims that we need to move to the ocean because it's good for her skin. So probably going to be, moving to like Costa Rica or something. Don't be surprised.
Those are awesome new, Chris. Yeah, you gotta stay close to the family. Always good.
Yeah.
And now, the one known as the Econ Ninja, Gareth Raff, the legend. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. We got Chris back this month, as you said. Lots of fun stuff happening since he's been back. We we've been moving on a lot. You guys are going to hear about some of it coming up both today and in the upcoming town hall. So super excited. Yeah, super exciting times. Yeah, and we're on number 15 now, so excited to jump into it.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
time we go to create one of these presentations, which FYI guys, I don't know if you can tell by the art or the style of these presentations, we don't have a design team making these. These are made by us. But every time we make them, I always, I'm always like, oh, we don't have anything to show for the last month. And then, we just spend 15 minutes going through the different projects, data, events, everything that we work on, over here, and we fill up this slideshow pretty quickly. So, yeah, as always, we've got some really exciting stuff for today's presentation. I just sent a message to the Holosim channel. We'll be going over Holosim data. We'll be going over some other data as well, UE5 data, which is very exciting. That's a first. So this is a first time economic forum. Number 15 is going to have a first in it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris, I'll let us get started right away. Please, it's your show. Feel free to deep dive into the econ data that we have, and also you are more than free to share all the alpha that you guys are teasing us on the next town hall and anything you guys want to talk about. Let's have fun.
Yeah, Good. I always have to do like a little test before we get on to check with you guys, the community team, what is and is not public information. So we had a very productive conversation before this meeting
Save
started.
jobs. I heard it save jobs.
Yeah, we saved some jobs. Nobody's going to get fired today. At least we think. Anywho, okay, the 15th monthly Star Atlas Economic Forum. It's great to be back. I know Gareth led us last time. He went over the quarterly report. So hopefully you guys all enjoyed that, and you're not too bummed to have me back sitting with you today. This is an opportunity for the economics department at Star Atlas to disseminate information to the entire community. We know that because of people's schedules and time zones, it's difficult to it's difficult to stay on top of all the things that are happening in the Star Atlas economy. So we wanted to take an opportunity to basically reset every single month and have a space that works for most time zones where people can come and learn about the Star Atlas economy. That's not restricted to specific people that are up at the right time. So without further ado, let's jump into today's agenda. So first, we're going to go over our first UE5 economy data dump. This is basically the first time we have data to report on UE5. It's not much data. We don't get a lot of telemetry from the UE5 environment. First of all, there's not a ton of players, or at least there haven't historically been a lot of players. And so EU5, sorry, that's not supposed to say European Union 5. That's supposed to say UE5, Unreal Engine. Apologies. We don't get a lot of opportunities to report data because there's not a lot of data. So I synced up with one of our UE5 devs in order to collect some data on experience points that are being earned to get crew packs currently in UE5. And that update went out just last week. So very exciting there. Not a ton of data, but it's data nonetheless. And then we're going to go into a little bit more, a more data heavy part of the presentation in HoloSim, end of season data. So if those of you who have been playing HoloSim, or at least played HoloSim during the season when the leaderboard was active, we are going to have a bunch of cool stats for you guys to kind of dig into. The HoloSim data environment is very exciting. It's a very exciting project that we're working on, and that follows directly into update number 3, which is the data engineering update. We've got some really exciting stuff, at least for the data inclined people out there. But to us, it's very exciting in terms of data engineering, where we get our data from, the quality of that data, and the usefulness of that data for analysis. And then we'll get into a Q&A. There are also a few final little notes that I might tag on to the end of the presentation, just to keep everybody kind of anticipating the updates that are to come. So without further ado, let's jump into UE5 economics. I spelled it correctly this time. So on July 30th, as you guys all know, we had a pretty substantial UE5 release. This involved kind of our first character progression mechanic. And this is where you earn XP on multiple different tracks, and these are called characters. And you're going to gain prestige within those tracks. And that prestige, if you hit certain thresholds, is going to earn you crew. And what I decided to do was just kind of go through and figure out, okay, what are the most popular characters by XP, and how much prestige is being earned. So we've got 516 players in our database, which is actually a pretty huge amount of players. That's about the same number of daily active users that we have in HoloSim. And if you think about the fact that HoloSim is a free-to-play game on the web browser, and the UE5 game is a much more substantial download that you have to play on a beefy computer, I think 516 users that are active in this this latest update is pretty impressive. Of those players, you can kind of see, you guys like to give me crap about how mean I am with the economics in Starbase. But you can see how difficult it is to earn prestige by character in the UE5 game. So you can see over there on the left, I've got total prestige by character type, and these types are basically the tracks on which you can earn XP. So you earn XP, and then as you earn XP, you go through and you level up that character, and leveling up that character is called prestige. And you can see on the left-hand side, there are a total of 4 prestige for the human male character as of the time that I collected this data, which was a few days ago. But that's after the game had been out for almost a week. And we've only got 4 prestige on the human male. We've got 1 prestige each on the Marie's male, the Profound Punab, and Ooster Body 1. This is total. This is not average. There are 4 people, or there are 4 total prestige points toward the human male. So very slow going. Going to be difficult to get those crew packs, but I think it'll be worth it. I mean, if you think about the new Diamond crew pack that rewards a minimum of, I believe, Anomaly or Epic. I think Epic, certainly not Anomaly. I think it's a minimum of Epic. That's pretty freaking difficult to get, as it should be. So, we'll see how those game designers, those mean game designers, decide to treat you guys later on in the season. Maybe they'll loosen up these constraints. But so far, so good. You can see the XP by character type over on the right hand side, and that's basically just going to give you a vague, rough idea of how popular each of the different classes are. I've included all the classes that show up in the data set. So even for, Tufa Prestige, Fatali Prestige, I'm not sure if those are fully 0 or if they're just really small numbers, but you can kind of see the Maurice male, human male, Booster Body 1 are the most popular in terms of the amount of XP that players have collected per character type. Now, another thing, and I am happy to have you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but another thing to note is that I believe you need to actually have that character in your wallet in order to be able to use it in the game. So Punab, while it's kind of OP in terms of the combat of UE5, you can't use it unless you have a Punab NFT. So it kind of explains the distribution here, because a lot of this has to do with the actual crew card probability distribution. But yeah, some cool early data, and we're gonna keep monitoring this, see how it changes over time. I'm excited to see that 516 player number continue to climb. We'd love to 10x that, add a 0 to the bottom. But that's our first look at the UE5 economy. And there's actually an update to the UE5 economy that is going to happen hopefully rather soon. And I'll touch on that at the very end of the presentation. It's been vaguely hinted at in our channels, but I'll kind of formally maybe take a stab at the black goo economy that we have planned coming up for the C4 update. So with that, let's move into Holosim data. So the Holosim pre-season, the very first kind of beta season of Holosim just completed July. This is not as of July 7th. I don't think. I think I'm missing a 27th. I think there's a typo. Anyway, this is as of the final day of the Holosim preseason. And so all of this data does not include any time after that. You can still play Holosim. You can log in. You can get your daily active, or you can get your login quest. You can do all this different stuff. You can still progress over the quest line and earn crew and Z Atlas, but you can't play towards the leaderboard or towards the faction competition anymore. So all this data is as of the close of the season of Holosim. All told, we had 6,000 users complete a quest. Now, these 6,000 users, basically, they're the ones who actually clicked something after they went to the website. So these are our core. That's our top of funnel. That's our top of funnel 5,750 alts. Haha. That's our top of funnel metric that we use we consider that a real human player. Some of these other accounts, who just went to the website, a lot of these could be alts, a lot of these could be mistakes, a lot of these are dev accounts, us creating an account and trying to log into with a different account. So there are 15,000 total account IDs, but of those 15,000, we consider about 6,000 of them to be true actual users. All told, 55,349 quests were completed by players during the season, and we averaged 518 daily active users every single day. So that's actually pretty impressive, considering we only have about double that or slightly more than 2x that in Starbase. And HoloSim doesn't really have economic incentives right now. Starbase emits quite a lot of Atlas every single day. There's a lot of value that's being generated by Starbase. And the fact that we only have, 2x the number of users in that fully incentivized economy than we do in this effectively zero incentive economy is really, really impressive. And we really haven't done any advertising around this product at all. So I'm really excited about that number and how we can get it to grow. Fun fact, only 58 users got to the final quest, the Age of Information, which is the final quest. And I think about 250 users got to the end of the intro mission kind of quest line. Now, in terms of the competition, Larinor won the leaderboard competition with 225 million XP. That's based on our back-end XP that we track, so that might not align perfectly with what's displayed in game. Mud had 2,426 players during the whole season, Oni 2,146, and funnily enough, Ooster, the winners of the faction competition, have 1,428. And Ooster won the competition with 3.99 million XP and an average rank of 2.8. And that might be 3.99 billion. Nobody copy edits this stuff, so just bear with me. And an average rank of 2,875. So they had the lowest average rank of all factions, obviously winning the competition. So yeah, really, really fun to start digging. I mean, I've got so much data. We did a big analysis this week on all the different quests, which quests worked, which quests did not work, what were some things that we could improve. We were able to identify a lot of the bugs basically just based on telemetry around the quest data. How long did it take players to complete each quest? What was the fail rate of the quest, or I guess the pass rate of the quests? So kind of cool. Job opening for Econ Form slideshow QA engineer coming soon. Yeah, we can pay you 100 Atlas an hour. How's that sound? Hey, that could be, who knows how much that is. Okay, so that is the quest data. Now, one thing that I want to point out, because the theme of today's discussion really is quality of data and data engineering. We have gone through a pretty significant metamorphosis. We've gone through a pretty significant change this past month and this past quarter in terms of the way that we get data. There's a lot of different ways to collect data. One of the primary ways that we've used in the past is blockchain data. Now, blockchain data is great. I think it's an amazing public good. The fact that anybody can go out there and look at the blockchain data and collect it is a huge, huge win. But as we've seen with the shutting down of Flipside, Query, and as we've seen trying to study HoloSim data, it gets very, very confusing very, very quick when you're working with pure blockchain data. So all of this quest data was actually collected on the back end and stored in a server for HoloSim. So a lot of the quest data, that's not on-chain data. That's all Web 2 data. Whether you get the quest, whether you complete the quest, all this stuff. It's confirmed by on-chain data, but it's not actually stored on-chain. The leaderboard, all that stuff. Now, what we've started to do is we've started to collect data thanks to our incredible engineering team and in particular for this data, Michael Caine, we started to be able to collect in-game data directly to a back-end server, which is super powerful because it means we don't have to do all of this complicated blockchain engineering nonsense trying to figure out, okay, which account had the iron ore in it and what's the mint of iron ore, all this different stuff. Instead, we're able to just say, here's the event. Player XYZ clicked on this button and they got such and such reward. We get all that information in a nice, clean data set. So that's super powerful. And that's why I'm very confident in this Quest data, because it's collected directly effectively from the front end and stored in a server. Now, the next slide contains blockchain data. Okay, as of July 26th. I have no idea why this says July 7th. But as of July 26th, which was the last day of the season for HoloSim 2025. Now, this data is not complete. This is only 9.3 million transactions, and that's 177,000 transactions per day. Considering we typically do about, just shy of 1 million transactions on Starbase, and there are half the number of daily active users in HoloSim as on Starbase, you'd expect this number to be about 500,000. So this is a smaller sample of the total blockchain transactions. And that is because another disadvantage of blockchain data, or not disadvantage, but a complication dealing with blockchain data, is we had to ingest this data entirely in-house. No, Brian, I'm not hating on blockchain. Trust me, I have very strong feelings about how important blockchain data is for the future of humanity. But we can talk about that off camera. So what we had to do with the HoloSim data, HoloSim runs on an internal testnet called AtlasNet that we use to test all of our programs. So anytime we're going to write a new blockchain program, first we deploy it on AtlasNet. Now, HoloSim is deployed on AtlasNet. AtlasNet is not easily grabbable, for lack of a better word, via our data partner, HelloMoon. So HelloMoon streams all Solana mainnet traffic. They do not stream DevNet or SideNet traffic. If you create your own, if you spin up a side chain or a copy of Solana, HelloMoon or these third-party data providers are not tracking that data. They're just tracking the mainnet data. So what that meant was we needed to come up with a bespoke internal data stream for HoloSim. Now, one of the unfortunate pieces here was that we ended up not getting a lot of data. And that was partially because, first of all, this is a huge undertaking to try to basically emulate what a multi-million-dollar startup is doing internally with basically two people or one person. That's a lot of work. And so what we decided was that we would focus on only collecting transactions that resulted in a burn or mint or transfer action. So only transactions that we monitored that invoked one of those instructions on chain, on AtlasNet, was collected. So I feel more confident about the numbers on the left-hand side than I do about the numbers on the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side, I just basically used my data to summarize the total number of fuel mints that were burned in a burn action, along with all of the other assets you can see there. So I summarize burned here because that's a pretty straightforward action. So for example, fuel, 8.1 billion units burned. That's pretty believable. Seems to be in line with what we wanted to, or what we would expect to see. But also the burn action is pretty straightforward. The transfer action is a little less straightforward because when you mine, for example, iron ore at an asteroid, when you get that iron ore, that's actually a transfer action. That's not a mint action. So it's a little confusing to try to figure out, okay, how much of something was emitted using the transfer instruction on Sage. You need to do some other back work, some other legwork to be able to get that number. And since this is a new pipeline, we just did not have the manpower to fully analyze those on-chain transactions. Okay, so 4.1 billion units of food consumed, 2 billion units of ammo consumed, and only 50 million units of toolkits consumed. We had 23 million SDUs burned. And interestingly enough, we had 32 HICs burnt, which I thought was kind of funny because you probably want to be selling those into the market in order to get the reward. And then we had PERs. Those are the some sort of license. 9,500 of those burnt, which was, again, kind of interesting to see any of those burned. I figured those would be transferred to those purchasing wallets in the marketplace. On the right-hand side, again, not 100% sure how reliable these numbers are, but this is what my analysis showed, was that we had 835 million thousand Z-Atlas minted, 170,000 asteroid mining invocations of that instruction was 170,000, 31,000 crafting jobs. That seems low. 13,000 fleets attacked. This is the fleet attack instruction invocation, 13,000 of those. Again, maybe a little bit low. 7,000 warps performed. Pretty sure that's not accurate. 3,000 scans and 121 vessels looted. So I'm not 100% confident on those ones on the right. I am more confident on the ones on the left. Now, this is where I get to a very exciting point, and let me just make sure it's here. We have begun a new ingestion pipeline that is pretty much 100% of the AtlasNet data that exists is now being ingested by us in-house. So completely foregoing any third party like Flipside or third party partners. So this is really exciting because it means that we have full control over our data ingestion pipeline. And what we are able to do is we're able to parse the transactions and get data in a much, much cleaner way than before. Because this is a bespoke pipeline. We're able to basically say, hey, get all this data and report these specific things for us, not all this other junk that we don't care about. So you can kind of see the instructions that we've begun testing on. This is super powerful. I mean, this will completely revolutionize how we ingest blockchain data, saving the company money, of course, in terms of data licensing, for lack of a better word, but also time, because we're able to update these pipelines ourselves internally, and with the power of AI. I mean, this is stuff that would not have been possible before. So really exciting that we're starting to ingest AtlasNet data. There's no reason that this process can't be transferred over to Starbase as well. So that's exciting for a bunch of different reasons that I've kind of outlined. But yeah, we're kind of going through and looking at that data. So hopefully within a week or two, I'll have much, much more accurate data on the on-chain analytics side from from HoloSim Season 0 from the preseason. Yeah, that's a really exciting update there. Kudos to Daniel in our engineering department. Daniel DeWett, he works directly with me, and Gareth, we're kind of a 3-person data econ department, I like to think of us. And then, yeah, he was assisted by a number of our engineers. Brian, let's think, Lucas, Kane, all instrumental in getting this data figured out. So really, really awesome month for data in the econ department. So expect to start seeing a lot more information from us in terms of analytics. We also hope that this will lead us to pretty seamless data transferring to the community. So we'll be able to get some sort of a public endpoint that stores blockchain data. Honestly, it could be as simple as an S3 dump, where we just take all the transactions that are coming in and dumping in an S3. Now, there's additional baggage that comes with something like that. We have to keep it maintained. So if there's an issue, all of a sudden we're maintaining 2 pipelines instead of 1. But if it's just a matter of, hey, every single day, copy whatever we have over into this lake, that's not as big of a deal. But more on that hopefully later. But for now, we're just going through and trying to process all this data. It's a different format than we're used to. So that's involving a little bit more work, but it's a much cleaner format. So rather than having to look for this information for a single transaction in 10 different places, it's all in the same line in a SQL database. Some other updates that I wanted to talk about before we get to our Q&A is a Black Goo update that is planned. This was just something we thought might be good to just chat about, the economic implications. So we've talked about Black Goo in the, I might actually, you know what, before I get to this, I'll pause to make sure there's no massive questions or, issues. Wrath is posting all sorts of nonsense.
I think you can keep going, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we've mentioned Black Goo in the Star Atlas community channels on multiple occasions, and I just wanted to kind of comment on it a little bit more in more detail, since we have more of the details on that. We decided that we're going to hold off on this until the C4 update. But basically what Black Goo is, it's going to be an in-game reward in UE5. So when you complete quests, when you complete actions, when you win, all these different activities that you participate in UE5, mining, flying around with your ship, you're going to get Black Goo as a reward. Now, you can think of this as like almost a sub-currency within UE5. So you'll see it tick up on your account as you play through the game. It won't necessarily be, it's not going to be like a survey data unit. It's not going to be super, super rare or scarce, but you will get it as a reward in the game. And the direct application here is that it can be used with, it can be used in Starbase, well, C4 in this case, as an input to specific ship config recipes. I'm not sure how much detail we've given on how ship config will work in C4, but basically the way it works is when you put together your ship config, there are basically like 30, 40 to 100 different configurations for each ship, and you will combine a bunch of different ship parts with the origination ship. So for example, let's say you're making an attack to Thimble air bike. You're going to combine a bunch of attack type components into the config with the Thimble air bike, and you're going to get that ship out in the config. So it's almost like double, it's like when you put together your fleet and you have a bunch of different ships. First, you put together the ship with a bunch of different parts, and then you put together your fleet with all of those ships that have been configured. Now, really, really, really important, and I've talked about this in a previous economic forum, you're also going to be able to craft all those ship parts. All those ship parts will be available for crafting. Now, there's going to be a conversion between what players currently have for ship parts for all their ships and the ship components in C4. Because we're going to need those values to obviously translate one-to-one. So we're not 100% sure what that looks like yet. We're still doing that calculation. But basically, each ship config will require input components and parts and missiles and all these different things that can be crafted in the rest of the game loop. Black Goo will be a principal input to some of those ship parts. And the idea is to make those ship parts special in a certain way in order to make Black Goo a very attractive input in the Sage economy. So what this does is it makes that input very valuable, but it can only be earned in UE5. It cannot be earned in the Sage main game. So Black Goo, yeah, hopefully not exactly like an SDU, but in a way, yes, kind of an exclusive resource that can only be used, can only be gained in a specific gameplay function, and then it'll be used in exclusive recipes that create exclusive ship configs that will be powerful in combat. And again, referring back to one of the previous economic forum. War will be the primary economic driving force in C4. So that's pretty exciting. That will be a huge... is Black Goo tradable? There's no reason that I would believe that black goo would not be tradable. That's kind of the whole point. So yeah, the only person that I could see overriding that, it would be Michael Wagner. I think we're aligned there. So yeah, my understanding is that black goo is going to be tradable. I wouldn't have it any other way. So that will create a massive labor market in UE5.
Yeah, I have a question here, Chris. Sorry to interrupt you. But do you see this as a trend, like new resources appearing in UE5 and this growing more and more in integrations between C4, UE5, all other products? Things from C4, for example, coming to UE5 as well? Or do you think this is a standalone event?
So okay, obviously.
Theory crafting.
Yeah, theory crafting. The plan is, of course, for full one-to-one, a one-to-one mapping between things you can do in Sage and things you can do in UE5. Now, that said, this is something that's always been on my mind when it comes to Sage compared to UE5. There are certain things that are going to be much easier to do in Sage than in UE5, or at least right now, as UE5 is currently being built, right? It's like, am I going to go out in a single ship and mine an asteroid, or am I going to go into Sage and control an army of 100 ships to go mine an asteroid? I'm probably going to do the latter. So how do we create economic incentives for UE5? I do think that exclusive assets that can only be earned in UE5 are going to be super valuable for creating a labor force there, or a labor market there. Now, it also goes the other direction. There are going to be things in C4 or in Sage that you can only do in Sage and you can't do in UE5. I do think that that is going to be an important relationship because the reality is the types of people who want to participate in a game like Sage and the types of people who want to engage in a game like the UE5 product are two totally different people. So I think it's important to appreciate that fact and balance their labor markets appropriately.
Awesome. Yeah, I love this, honestly. Like the idea of, for example, if you are able to find certain resources, only asteroids in UE5, but you want to go for quantity in C4, yeah, I love this concept. I feel this will make our economy more robust and drive people from all sorts of backgrounds to engage with the Stratos ecosystem, which is ultimately what we want here.
Yeah. There's a huge point to be made about being able to influence your product with these types of incentives. For example, let's say that the price of a black goo is just too low. It's just not worth it. The amount of work that you have to do to get black goo is not worth it. Fewer people will be incentivized to mine for black goo. And that probably also relates to a decrease in daily active users in UE5. That's not a desirable outcome. Now, if enough people stop playing, then people will start to collect black goo again because all of a sudden it's become rare again and scarce. So there's this nice fine balance where, okay, effectively the return to collecting black goo in UE5 is going to be some equilibrium rate, and that equilibrium rate will be proportional to the daily active users in UE5, at least to a certain extent, right? Not everybody who's playing UE5 is going to be there to collect black goo. They're going to be doing other things. But the beauty of this is, we have an ability to incentivize people to engage in this virtual environment via labor market incentives. So that's kind of cool. Just in and of itself, that's kind of cool. It's a lot of power. But on the other hand, there's also this idea that every single time we add a new component, a new resource, something else into the game, we're creating a new, I don't want to say it's a new career, but it's basically a new career. It's a new way to earn in that game, a new market. And so all of a sudden you can say, oh, well, we're interested in maybe moving more people into this sector. So we're going to increase the increase the scarcity, decrease the quantity, and all of a sudden that price will go up and we'll move people around. So it's a lot of power to have over a virtual environment like this. Very, very cool, and not something that many traditional games can take advantage of in terms of the mechanic.
I can see Chris with his whiskey at the end of the day, looking at the board of the Stratos Economy and thinking, oh, I am the almighty god of this realm. What shall I introduce next?
I will say I have never felt like that at all with Starbased, so I don't know if I'll ever feel that way. The whiskey is typically more in the form of, oh God, what's going on? What have they done?
Oh, I have destroyed my realm.
It's seldom, yeah.
It's doom.
I don't have that that godly satisfaction yet. We'll see. Maybe someday. Yeah, so Bob pointed out Goo should be skill based, and that is exactly the intention. So it'll honestly behave very similarly to XP. And the beautiful, sneaky thing about what's going on with XP and Crew is that we're basically running an experiment right now with XP. It's going to give us a ton of information regarding earnings rates, how much players are able to get in a single session and in a single season. And that will inform our design decisions around how Black Goo will integrate with Starbased, i.e. how much of it should you get.
Nice. Chris, Leonor asked the question. This is also tied to actually only using owned assets in UE5, I presume. Like participating in this aspect of the economy will require the player to use Stratos assets, or any free-to-play guy can farm Black Goo?
That's actually a good question. I would need to get some clarity from the UE5 team. I know there are free characters that you can play in UE5. My preference, and I've said this on numerous occasions, I think that in order for I do truly believe that in order for these types of economies to be sustainable, there has to be some skin in the game. You don't go to your retirement, fund manager and say, "Hey, I want free money, please." They say, "Okay, well, if you give me some money, then I can give you some money in exchange, but I can't give you free money." So, I think that in order for this to be sustainable, we need that type of relationship. That's why I've always been a pretty staunch advocate that in order to earn in Starbased, you need to have a ship. And I think that's a very powerful and important relationship. So yes, my preference would be, that was a horrible analogy. I agree, Groove. But you know what? We don't have a PR person, so I just get to come in here and say whatever I want. My preference would be that for sure you would be required to use a crew. That came from a crew pack, so an FT crew, a CNFT crew, not the free crew that comes with the game. So if you're using a free crew, you would not accumulate Black Goo. That's my strong preference.
Yeah, I see people are super preoccupied. They want the Black Goo. They are looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think even the XP stuff is pretty cool. It's not like the most, it's not fast, that's for sure. The cool thing about Goo is because it will be kind of this commodity, you'll be able to acquire it. I mean, I'm sure that the price in the market is not going to be huge, per unit on a per unit basis, but I'm curious what the market will shake out to look like when you can earn it, what you can earn in a single day. I thought I saw a question. Mining. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to point you out to that question.
Can you read it? I lost it.
Sure. Larry is now asking, what about ships? Like, will they require mining ships to play in the UE5 mining loop, for example?
I'd love to add that. It might make sense to have multiple types of items. Maybe there's one that you gain from mining, and there's one that you gain from combat. And the reason I say that is, much like with Fix, people are just going to go with the path of least resistance. So if the yield, if you get more Black Goo from mining, then you're just going to mine, and the market is not really going to incentivize people to participate in gunplay. Now, if it's way, way, way higher yield to go through gunplay, then nobody's going to get in their ship and mine it. So that might be an advantage of having two different markets, but I definitely want to have that integrated in this. And again, if you're using the free ships in the game, the Floyd liners, then yeah, probably would be good to not have the player earn anything in that loop.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like having specific resources tied to official matches, like for example, the racing career might have resources associated with racing and etc. The mining loops in Unreal Engine 5 requiring mining ships to produce actual results. I think that's mostly fair. Chris, now someone is asking the good questions. When? Do you have any insights?
I do. I can tell you that the Black Goo update will come out. Is planned to come out with C4. So whenever C4 comes out is when this will come.
I love this.
And no comment on C4. But I do think I want to talk about. I was told that I should hint at the fact that the next town hall will come with a pretty massive, update to the way economics works at Star Atlas. I don't think I want to say too much more, but it will basically it'll be a revolutionary change to the way that things currently function, especially in terms of costs associated with the game.
Steady, Chris.
What?
Steady, Chris.
Steady, Chris. Well,
we're discounting Fimble Bios tank ships to $10. No, just kidding. All the commander owners are like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, exactly. The crisis of the
That was a joke. No, but it'll be an exciting town hall. I think it's a good opportunity to move into the Q&A section.
Yep. Guys, you're free to ask Chris questions. Be reasonable. I'm also risking my job here. Brian wants to know about quantum nodes, Chris.
Quantum nodes. Oh, God. I don't want to talk about quantum nodes.
Come on, Brian.
I don't want to talk about fix. I just want fix. You know what? Actually, I think this is a perfectly fine place and time to talk. I actually did want to get this community's thoughts on something that we have been considering. Basically, we all know that fix are painful. Now, the alternative is an LP system, which doesn't really incentivize you to invite your friends into the game. And we've also noticed that our daily active user numbers have held up quite well against macro turmoil in the blockchain or in the crypto altcoin space due to increased emissions of the token. So we basically think that we were able to offset some loss in players by having Atlas emissions spike significantly over the last quarter in Starbase. So that's why I'm conflicted on what I'm about to say. We've discussed internally the option to shut off fix entirely in Starbase before C4 comes out, basically just trying to bridge the gap between now and C4. And what this would look like is it would mean that the LP pool, here's a ton of alpha actually, so just like if somebody should be taking notes. We would shut down FIC crafting after a certain period. This is partially theory crafting, partially trying to get the vibe of the community. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create a more enjoyable ecosystem for you guys. That is the whole point of all of this. So we would shut down fic crafting. Fics would still be able to be sold to the Council of Peace, and we would replace this with a roughly 9 to somewhere in the neighborhood of 8.5 to 10 million atlas per day in the LP pool. This LP pool would then replace all emissions in the game. We'd likely also bolster this with a few new ship recipes to try and keep the game loop interesting. So I'm seeing conflicting views.
Crying. Brian is literally crying right now. If you could see his face right now, Chris, tears would be falling across his beard.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that I have. There's no doubt that, like, the data tells us that there are huge imbalances in the fic crafting system. Right, there are fics that are objectively better than others, and the problem is we kind of need them to be that way. We need some sort of limit on the amount of atlas that can go out. It's too dangerous to just let people craft as much of the best fic as possible, because then it's like, why do we even have the other fics? So it's kind of an annoying thing. Now, we could balance this with the atlas rate of fics, but we would have to update that every single week, and the team doesn't have the resources for that. So it's just kind of this. It's been annoying to deal with, and I know that it's not fun for players to see the entire supply eaten up by a single player or a single 2 or 3 players, and then they've got to wait another week or two in order to deploy their fics. There's a lot of players sitting on a lot of fics that they can't get rid of because of the refill logic. So Zalax says, I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah, steady. People, as you can imagine, people are super passionate about their fics and LP. One question from Lerino. What will be done about the Mamba X depleted recipe and be on the star bases being nearly fully upgraded? Is this future updates coming?
Yeah. That's another reason why we would want to move into this other system, because obviously once all the starbase, first of all, the other issue with LP is basically it's only SDUs. Every single recipe gets filled immediately, and then it's only SDUs that are needed. And we've tried to rebalance this in the past, and we could change the recipes, but the way that the blockchain works is you can't amend something that's already in existence. So we can't change the recipes as they currently stand. We can only change future recipes. So we're going to run out of starbases soon. And, we are getting down to the wire. Like, it gets the farther, the closer. Every week that we go without C4, the star-based economy gets closer and closer to kind of its ultimate state where all the starbases are leveled up. So this update would also allow us to get around that unpleasantness. What we would do is we would add a 18th starbase to each faction, and we would update the recipes for starbase upgrading from tier 1 to tier 2 to be infinity or close to infinity for every single starbase upgrading material. So that's the solution that we would implement if we were to shut down fics. So it's much more controlled. And then we don't have to worry about, balancing emissions. I don't have to wake up in the morning and see 25 million atlas emitted. So it's kind of it's a bit radical, but we're getting pretty up to the wire. Even if C4 comes out soon, we're still looking at a scary couple of months coming up in Starbase, or even couple of weeks as the Starbases get closer and closer to fully upgraded. But I just wanted to introduce it because I wanted to get a vibe check, because I can look at the data, I can look at the chat logs, but at the end of the day, what I want to do is get our core player base. I want to get their thoughts on it. We could have put out a survey, but I figure why not just do it live?
Yeah, I see lots of questions in the chat.
Zelax, you need to reduce mining power of the current fighter ships in a step manner instead of a cliff manner on C4 launch. Thank you for the advice. I do agree that I think that the transition into fighter from miner for the fighting class ships will be a delicate balance to strike as we move into C4. The idea, to be clear, is that combat will be probably the most heavily incentivized action in the game. Actually, without a question, combat will be the most heavily incentivized. Yes, losing your ship config will be devastating, but the reward will also be equally as sweet. Brian, if you do this new LP pool, what happens when a faction runs out of Starbase upgrades? I think I answered that with my comment about the unlimited sync. Okay. So Anthony, actually, you also asked about faction fleet. We had talked about we have a threshold that has not yet been met that we want to reach before shutting faction fleet down, but it is getting closer and closer to that threshold. With fleet rentals, we really do feel we have an adequate substitute to faction fleet in Starbase. So definitely something that's on our radar in terms of something that needs to happen. But yeah, if we were to shut down faction fleet and fix, then LP would be the only Atlas emission mechanic in the ecosystem. Which, yeah, there's certainly an argument to be made. Hey, that's kind of scary. You have such a multifaceted economy right now. Are you sure you want to limit that to a single emission?
Chris, people are asking about, they're suggesting a fix solution that would create a new fix recipe, which would be composed by the other fix, like fix 1 plus fix 2, fix 3, and fix 4.
Yeah. So we actually thought about this previously as well. In order for this to work, though, we would need to get rid of, like, we wouldn't be able to put buy orders out for the other fix. It would have to all culminate in this one final fix. And then we would leave it up to the market to fill the excess or needed supply for the final recipe. And then we would just have, like, Fic Gen 4 would be the only thing that's purchased. I'm not opposed to this. We actually really did like this, internally. I could comment more on it, but I probably won't. Yeah, we'll think about it.
Awesome.
We actually have the recipe like already built out. It's in our specs. Just haven't released it. I agree, Brian, but I'm not. I have no power.
Does anyone have any last questions? We are already over the hour. Bodhi has a question. If depreciating fix, how do you account for some fix having vastly different inventory from other fix?
I don't have time to answer that question, Bodhi. But it is a very good question.
Sorry, Bodhi. I tried.
It's a good question.
Michael has a question. What's Chris blaming on me this time? I don't think.
He might have gone this whole meeting without getting any blame. You know what?
Yeah.
Not everything's about Michael Wagner. We don't always talk about him.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Jesus.
All right. Go on, Chris.
No, it's for the best that I don't say what I was going to say.
No, okay. So I think it's time for us to close before we put our jobs at risk.
Yep.
Chris and Gareth, thank you so much for another very interesting econ forum. Ah, man, I can't wait for the next Econ Forum because it will be the first one after the two next town halls. Super excited about how the economy of status will look like at that moment. But yeah, super interesting. Thank you guys. And any last words for our audience?
Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I think it was a really fun discussion today. I'm stoked.
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys put Chris through the ringer for this first town hall or first forum back. So good job.
Also awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. And don't miss next week's town hall. This is Penguin advice for you. Be there or be square.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
See
everyone.
you everyone.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye.